I think it is all part of an attempt by all sides to bring down the tension after last weekend's attack on the two oil refineries here in Saudi Arabia, which was claimed by the Houthi rebel group based in Yemen, who the Saudis and the UAE, the Emiratis, are fighting. But it's an attack which the coalition of the Emiratis and the Saudis and the Americans have blamed on Iran. That ramped up the tensions massively in the region, and I think now, given the consequences of a military strike by the Americans or the Saudis on Iran, everyone is trying to bring the tension down, and I think that is part of it. Although the imagery behind the statement of President Rouhani is still bellicose in the fact that it demonstrates the ability of Iran to be able to strike back, and I think that plays into the thinking of both the United States and Saudi Arabia when they work out how to respond to last weekend's attack. I mean, it is a fact now, I think, that Iran has the capability to strike targets, US assets, military assets in the region. It has the capability, certainly, to strike Saudi Arabia and perhaps even Israel as well. So the tension was high, and I think ahead of the UN General Assembly in New York, there is an attempt to bring things down. The problem, of course, is that Saudi Arabia and the United States don't trust the Iranians, and they think that, in the words of, I think it was the US Secretary of State, it is fake diplomacy on the part of Iran. Another interesting development in terms of Yemen is that the Houthi rebel group, who claimed responsibility for the attack a week ago exactly, have announced yesterday afternoon a cessation of hostilities against Saudi Arabia, a unilateral one, and they hope that Saudi Arabia will follow suit. So potentially a remarkable turnaround. I think the UN next week will be a very important moment in terms of this crisis.
Mark Stone there in Riyadh. Now, he's climbed Mount Everest, rowed across the Atlantic and cycled around the world. Now, the adventurer, James Ketchell, has become the first person to fly a gyrocopter around the globe. His epic 176-day journey took him across Europe, Asia and North America before landing at an airfield in Hampshire this afternoon. Sky's Emma Birchley was there to greet him.
Landing back at Popham Airfield in Hampshire, nearly 6 months and more than 27,000 miles after lifting off. It makes James Ketchell the first person ever to circumnavigate the globe in a gyrocopter.
It is incredible to be back. I would not have got around the world if it wasn't for all these amazing people. The wildlife was absolutely incredible. Whales, bears, you name it, I saw it. It was amazing.
He flew for around 5 hours a day.
Guys, just look at that for some scenery.
For the entire journey, James has been sitting in an open cockpit, exposed to everything the weather has thrown at him. But what that's enabled him to do is immerse himself in his surroundings, at times flying just 20 feet above the ground. But there were some scary moments, like having to make an emergency landing on a Canadian motorway.
We might have to cover the gyros up and make a plan to try and get through, but I don't know. Whoa, do you see that? There you go.
Gyrocopters have an unpowered rotor which spins when the aircraft's propelled forward by an engine at the back. Hard to believe James only began flying 2 years ago.
It's a fantastic achievement. It's a really small aeroplane, very good at bad weather flying, as you saw today, but tremendous.
The Scouting ambassador gave motivational talks in schools along the way and used the trip to fundraise for 2 children's charities. He was already the only person to have rowed the Atlantic, climbed Everest and cycled around the world, but he's not ready to take it easy just yet.
No human being has circumnavigated the globe by air, sea and land. So let's wait and see. I've done 2 of them. Let's wait and see.
But first, there's some celebrating to do. Emma Birchley, Sky News.
Well done to him. You're watching Sky News. Coming up, we've got all the sport, including Liverpool. Made it 6 wins out of 6 in the Premier League, but it's a completely different story for their rivals, Manchester United.
stop with the latest showbiz news, a warning some flash photography is coming up. Renée Zellweger has talked about the reaction to her portrayal of Judy Garland in Judy when it was first shown at the Toronto Film Festival. She received a long and boisterous standing ovation at the end of the film. Directed by Rupert Gould, the film examines the actress's life and final months. Judy hits cinemas on September the 27th.
This is overwhelming. It was overwhelming. So we had hoped to create something that was a really special homage, just a show of affection and appreciation for Judy and for her legacy of work. And if people have taken that away, then it just, it's a very emotional thing for me because, we had our fingers crossed tightly that we might be able to manage it, and I don't know. So yeah, it's very touching.
Do you take anything for depression?
4 husbands. Didn't work. There's a